Hey everybody, welcome back to WTF Cinema. Two in like less than a year, we're getting better. 2020 was a rough year. I don't need to elaborate on that fact. But during that time, I actually did discover something. See, because when I do WTF Cinema, there's a couple different reasons I may want to do it, right? Either a movie has gotten under my nerves and I just need to put it on blast and tell you guys how wrong it is, or there's a popular movie that shouldn't be popular. But sometimes it's also just because I found something weird and obscure that I want to share, right? Happiness of the Katakuris is like this. Wild Zero is like this. It's just something weird and obscure that I want to share with the world, and this is kind of the vehicle that I have to do that. Right? Making fun of it the whole way through, because that's the context of the show. I discovered in 2020 that there was a series of 6 direct-to-home marketed movies. I don't have the details in front of me. I believe they came out between 1995 and 1996. It's a 6-movie series that I had never heard of as a kid, and I kind of wish I had, called Josh Kirby, Time Warrior. So I'm going to take you through all 6 movies. Now, the way I've been posting, it may take a while, but I'm gonna try and get better about that. I don't make any guarantees, but I'm gonna try and get better about that because I do want to share all 6 of these movies, especially since it tells one cohesive story, and I do think it's pretty interesting. So, let me take you on the strange journey that is Josh Kirby, Time Warrior. It's actually worth noting that for some reason the name is always written out as Josh Kirby, space, ellipses, space, Time Warrior. That's the official name of the series, and it looks pretty awkward as a file name or in print. Just something I wanted to throw out. Every movie in this series begins with an intro that explains the concept of the series to us, as well as introducing all the characters. Now, this is pretty useful for a 6-movie series that, let's be clear, is primarily targeted to kids. But for the life of me, I cannot figure out why they also put this intro sequence at the start of the first movie. Because the recap is actually like the first half of the movie we're about to watch. It's so rare for a movie to actually spoil itself, but here we are. It describes the events that drive our plot forward, and then we watch them happen in real time. So I'm not going to dive into the recap now. I'm probably not going to address the recap in the future. Just know that it's there for future episodes. You're just going to have to try to remember who our characters are and what happened. Another thing this series likes to do at the beginning of each movie is to put all of the credits on screen with nothing else, just the credits, page after page of credits before we get to the movie. Since this is a series primarily targeted towards kids and teens who are famous for their long attention spans and they're willing to sit through screen after screen of nothing but text as it goes by. We open in the year 2420, 400 years in the future, where we meet the good scientist Irwin 1138, who I am just going to be calling Irwin for the rest of this review. He's the one wearing a weird motorcycle helmet for some reason. His team are disassembling a strange glowing collection of clear plastic pieces. We will eventually learn that the device that they're disassembling is the ultimate nullifier, which can nullify things, ultimately. It's basically referred to as a doomsday device that can destroy the universe because it can nullify everything. So Irwin has decided to disassemble it and scatter its pieces randomly throughout space and time so that nobody can use it for evil. This is also, like, he's wearing this weird helmet, which he's gonna wear until he meets our hero. Then the helmet goes away and never comes back, and we don't know why. It's clearly not an airtight helmet. It's open at the bottom, so it's not like he's in space. The other characters aren't wearing helmets. We haven't met any of the characters yet, so it's not like it's to disguise his identity from us. They just wanted him to wear a dorky looking helmet for his intro, I guess. There are 6 pieces to the nullifier, and we are going to watch them slowly scatter them throughout time, 1 piece at a time. This movie is in no rush to get to any action or plot. Right before they send out the final piece, Irwin announces they need another 90 seconds and orders his men to seal the door. Why? We've seen no sign that anybody's trying to stop you. Everybody seems pretty calm and sedate. But as soon as the door is sealed, someone tries to get through, and that someone is the evil Dr. Zoetrope, who also I'm just going to call Zoetrope. He's here in his robot suit for the nullifier, but he's too late. The pieces are scattered throughout time, while Zoetrope kills some random scientists. But enough of that. We need to cut to present day, which means 1994, and meet the true hero of our story, Josh Kirby. Josh is just your average 14 or 15-year-old kid, except for his strange obsession with watches. See, for some reason, watches don't work when he wears them on his wrist. So he keeps buying more of them, trying to get them to work, but inevitably, they stop working when he wears them. You remember when you were a kid, and the most important thing in the world was being able to wear a watch? And luckily, you know, it's perfectly normal for a kid to wear a wristwatch to bed. By the way, that was kind of a tricky sentence to get around. Wear a wristwatch to bed. Try that 5 times fast. See how you do. Luckily, for some reason, he is able to wear a stopwatch around his neck like a necklace, which he uses once or twice to, like, time himself riding his bike and then never again. Apart from hand-waving some screwy metabolism that the school nurse said, this watch thing isn't explained. But we can draw some suppositions from it at the end of the 3rd movie. Nothing like starting off with a plot point you aren't going to address for 5 hours. In school, we learn that Josh is an obnoxious smartass. Hold on, wait, can we pause right there? Yeah, that's Cordelia Chase from Buffy as an extra in Josh Kirby. Actually, she's the girl Josh has a crush on. She shows up in 2 of the movies and has about 2 lines of dialogue in the whole series. It's just weird that of all the actors in the series, it's a featured extra who went on to have the biggest career.
Why are you picking on this guy? He's weird.
After school, Josh finds a nullifier piece in his dog's doghouse, and he thinks it's the coolest thing he has ever seen. Bear in mind, it is a slightly glowing piece of plastic in a roughly phallic shape. It is so cool. We immediately cut to later that night, where Zoetrope teleports into Josh's neighborhood, so apparently his suit can travel through time and space. Josh goes over to his best friend's house. His best friend is also named Irwin. The series never makes the connection, but little kid Irwin's dad is a physics professor, so I wonder if we're supposed to assume that the scientist Irwin is like a direct descendant of this best friend Irwin. Anyway, Josh goes over to his house wearing a hazmat suit and carrying the nullifier, which totally ruins his friend's game of F-Zero. Try as they might, they can't find anything about random pieces of plastic in any of the physics books that they steal from his dad's office. Also, Josh feels like he needs to wear the hazmat suit to carry the nullifier piece from his house to his friend's house, but then, like, at his friend's house, immediately takes off the hood, and in the next scene, immediately takes off the whole outfit, and they're just sitting there with the nullifier, handling it without fear. While Josh is heading back home, his dad has a run-in with Zoetrope, and you can say what you want about the cheesy quality of the special effects and props in this movie, but the giant time-traveling armor ringing a doorbell and politely waiting for the door to open is pretty funny. This series does have small moments of comedy that I think work really well. It's funny up until he shoots out a beam that hopefully just knocked Josh's dad out cold, and then uses that same beam to scan Josh's dog's memory to find out that Josh did find a piece of the nullifier, because apparently dogs have a much more coherent memory than I thought. Josh is interrupted on his way home when Dr. Irwin shows up in a time capsule, still wearing his weird motorcycle helmet. Erwin and Zoetrope both try to convince Josh to give them the piece because both of them claim the other is an evil genius bent on destroying the world. Zoetrope proves his peaceful nature by incinerating a tree when Josh tries to escape, and the two scientists then shoot special effects at each other for a little bit. Next, we're introduced to our mascot character, Prism, before Zoetrope gets the nullifier piece and vanishes. See, every kid movie needs a mascot, and we get Prism, who is essentially a cheap hand puppet somebody had in their closet that doesn't move much. But we later learn that Prism has some magical ability to sense when nullifier pieces are near, and he can magically teleport. But before he can teleport away, Josh grabs a hold of him and is now in the time pod with Erwin and Prism. Erwin gives his huge catchphrase for this series, "Prepare for the storm." I think he means the time storm. Before they go off time traveling, and he doesn't know that Josh is in the pod yet. We get a pretty big lore dump here. The nullifier is a mysterious piece of alien technology that Zoetrope discovered and figured out what it does. Then the space government took it away from him and had the pieces spread throughout time to stop him from using it. Now, Zoetrope is using his suit to track the pieces down. Luckily, Erwin has a magical alien named Prism to help him track down the pieces. Of course, you know, it'd be more reliable if he could just remember where he sent the pieces, but fine, or if he had technology to track them like apparently Zoetrope does. Actually, Zoetrope doesn't have this technology. What Zoetrope did was, after they beamed all the pieces to random times and places, he hacked the computer and got a list of the coordinates and is just going to get them. But if Erwin had used his own computer to find the list of where he sent things, we wouldn't have our mascot character, so I guess we're just going with that.
Well, you gotta admit, time armor is cooler than a time pod.
Do you think I don't know that?
Okay, that's kind of funny. Josh demands to be sent home, but Erwin explains that because of Zoetrope hopping through time and space, Josh's home planet, you know, Earth, has become a giant ball of magma. The Earth, in present time, 1995, has been destroyed, along with everybody Josh knows. Pretty grim way to start a series for children. Josh and Erwin land in 1205 AD on Earth, because, kind of like Doctor Who, when you have all of time and space to play with, you keep coming back to Earth. We also meet our final main character, the warrior woman Azabeth Siege, who I'm going to call Beth or Azabeth, depending on how my mood takes me. She is our main fighter for the series. She's a warrior woman. Sadly, they never actually hired a fight choreographer or an acting coach. So kind of imagine if Worf were a valley girl who couldn't act and couldn't fight well.
Don't you realize I could sever your puny head from your narrow shoulders in a millisecond?
Now that wouldn't do either of us any good.
It turns out Beth is misplaced in time and quickly joins up with our heroes. Josh and Fam are quickly captured by some people and chained to a Stonehenge that even Spinal Tap would think looks cheap. They're going to be sacrificed to a dragon, but Erwin laughed because dragons were never real. So, no dragons, but instead a giant claymation dinosaur. Yeah, because of the time stream shenanigans, there are now dinosaurs roaming around in the Middle Ages, and if you think, are there knights riding these dinosaurs? There absolutely are. I gotta tell you, if I'd seen this series as a kid, I would have thought this was the coolest thing ever. So, I want to readdress something that we've already covered so that I can put it right up next to something that's happening now. So, Erwin hid the pieces of the nullifier across time, and then the very next thing he had to do, as soon as he finished that, was hop in his time pod and go try to gather up the pieces he had just hidden because Zoetrope was going to them, immediately undoing what he just did. Okay? Now, the peasants who chained our heroes up to the rocks to sacrifice to the dragon get back to their town and tell their leader, hey, we didn't have to sacrifice the blacksmith like we planned because we found some strangers and we're sacrificing them instead. And the leader immediately says, well, we have to go save them, and gathers up all the town people, and they run back up the hill to go and save the people they just chained up for sacrifice from the dragon they were just planning to sacrifice them to. People don't have very firm convictions in this story. That is our brave and great fighter swinging about a mile away from her target. But Josh and Irwin get separated from Azabeth in the struggle because she is immediately knocked out by the dinosaur. Josh tells the leader of the good guys, William, that they have to go rescue Beth because she's part of his group. And I'm going to harp on this for a little bit because it's wild. I know you haven't watched this movie because it's weird and obscure, and I am your only guide to this movie, and you have to trust me. We spent like a minute, maybe 2 minutes with Azabeth before they were captured by the peasants and chained to rocks. And during that time, all she did was attack Josh, believing him to be in league with her enemies, whoever they are, and having brought her here for nefarious purposes. We are now, right now, supposed to accept that Azabeth is a dear friend of Josh, Irwin, and Prism. Their interaction was only 2 minutes long and mostly hostile. But she's our friend and we have to save her. And the movie from this moment on will assume that they were always part of a group together and they are close friends and allies. Despite never seeing that happen. Apparently, William used to be the Baron of these lands until his younger brother took control of the dragon and hired a bunch of mercenary, and now evil rules the land. I don't even remember the brother's name. We're just going to refer to him as the villain. While Beth is captive, the villain makes a point of seeing her bracelet. Josh has a similar one. We later learn that these are time bands, and you need to wear them when you're outside of your native time, or else bad things happen, and I'll get more specific on what those bad things are when the movie reminds me. What we don't learn is where Beth got hers, because we can assume Irwin gave Josh his, but Beth just has one on, even though she was supposedly ripped out of her time. We learn that the villain has hired Zoetrope as his grand wizard, because of course he has. Currently, Zoetrope is tasked with turning lead into gold, but really, he's looking for the next piece of the nullifier. Zoetrope goes into the dungeon to interrogate Beth, who apparently knows him very well. Like, either the two of them have history from before the show began, or because of that whole thing I mentioned where we're supposed to assume that the three main characters are buddies and pals. Like, the story is really just like, oh, we've crossed paths many times in our quest across time, except this is the first time they're meeting. I honestly don't know. Somehow, without us seeing it, Zoetrope managed to capture Prism, and he gets back to his little office and he finds Prism teleporting around causing chaos. So, we are told by Irwin that Zoetrope is the smartest man in the universe and that Irwin is the second smartest man in the universe. How do you restrain a creature that can magically teleport? If you're the smartest man in the universe, you put him in a small wooden cage with a door that doesn't latch. That will stop him from being able to magically teleport around, or, you know, push the door open. While the local blacksmith works with Irwin to fix the time pod, Azabeth is being prepared for dinner with the villain, who is utterly smitten with her. And Josh is badly depressed because his dear friend Azabeth, who he has no reason to think of as a friend, is trapped. I'm going to let this go now, this whole we've seen Azabeth for 2 minutes but she's part of the gang thing, because the movie very much just wants me to think of her as one of the heroes who has been on many adventures with her friends, and even though they've given us no reason to believe that, they're going to move forward as if that is the case, and I can either sit here and scream myself hoarse every minute of this movie, or I can just accept it and move on. The villain's current girlfriend is very upset that she's being replaced, so we get a brief catfight where we again fail to see our great warrior woman have any fighting skills.
I wanted to. The codes of Kang are quite specific about the danger. The 17th in particular. Whosoever takes another woman's man, keep close watch on her own.
Codes Kang, I know nothing of these.
Yeah, that's the other thing about Beth. She is a strict follower of the codes of Kang. This is the warrior code she lives by. Spouting these random codes, which are often convoluted and a bit tortured, if I'm honest, is what we get in place of the writers giving her an actual personality. Following the rumors of a small boy, Josh and William are able to find another dragon, in this case a stegosaurus. Now, they just have to feed it enough fruit to tame it, and then charge the castle to defeat the villain, save Azabeth, and maybe even find a nullifier piece. While the villain fails to woo Azabeth, Josh and William plan to raid the castle the next morning and defeat the forces of evil. Azabeth takes advantage of the villain's stupidity to knee him in the balls and make a break for it, but is quickly overpowered by the guards and is scheduled for execution the next morning. That's actually where our movie ends. That's it. All that you can have after this is next time on Josh Kirby, Time Warrior. Is it an extremely unsatisfying place to end a movie? Yes. I don't have other justification for it. I think the cause is, as you'll see when we do the next one, they didn't have enough material in the next movie to make it a full movie, so they borrowed some from the end of this one, is what I think happened. And we'll see that together. So, I'm supposed to wrap up here, right? Honestly, this is pretty ambitious for a low-budget sci-fi series of direct-to-video movies for kids to decide that the very first movie in the series would be medieval knights riding dinosaurs. You gotta give them credit for, trying. They didn't hold back, right? They had an idea and they ran with it. The execution, but the ideas and the story here, honestly, not bad for what it is. Right? This is no magnum opus. This is no cinematic masterpiece. But for a fun kids adventure, this is honestly pretty solid idea-wise. The execution, again, shaky. But if I'd seen this as a kid when it came out, this would have been part of my personality as a kid. I would have wanted to be a time warrior. Again, we don't know what a time warrior is yet. We got to wait a couple more movies for that revelation. But as an adult watching it, it's pretty silly, but it looks like everybody involved is having a really good time. The villain is just chewing up the scenery with his dialogue. Apart from Azabeth, everybody's putting in decent performances. Even Josh is doing okay. It's not terrible. It's not terrible at all. It is a weird little piece of cinema history. And I guess we're going to have to see where this story goes together. So hopefully, I will see you next time for more Josh Kirby, Time Warrior. Hey everybody. If you need more of me in your life, you should check out my podcast that I host with Russ, where we review JRPG video games and occasionally have video game discussions in general. Home on the RNG. It's available where the podcasts are. Check it out. Or don't. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life.